But why did it take so long? Well, there's a glass ceiling. And the truth of the matter is that the art world is like many other worlds, like corporate America, and it's taken women a while to ascend, and we are ascending, but it takes some time.
I guess I would think that the art world is a little more progressive, especially in New York City. But there are problems in the art world just like other industries in America, right?
You're absolutely right. So we like to think of ourselves as progressive, and in many ways we are, which means that we have women in leadership positions. For example, they're the chief curators of many of our museums, and they've risen over the recent decades, quite exponentially. But in terms of a major institution that maybe has billions or trillions of dollars worth of assets in it, I think that probably historically our boards have been more conservative and thought of them as male roles.
And were there people who raised questions about whether a woman could do this job?
Not to my face, they didn't.
Yeah. Well, you've got the job now. What do you want to do when you walk in on the first day?
Well, first of all, I'm trained as an art historian, so the idea, and I love the Brooklyn Museum, and so the idea that I get to work with an extraordinary collection. I mean, we have one of the best African art collections in the country, Egyptian art collections, Native American, Oceanic, Asian, you name it. This museum has extraordinary collections, so I cannot wait to dive in and learn about them. But in terms of my, beginnings, I'm going to listen very carefully. There are a lot of people who have long histories with this institution. I want to hear about their dreams and their hopes and their aspirations for the museum, and I want to connect with the people who don't have those histories and learn about why not.
And you've got a personal history, a personal connection to this museum. Your mother grew up in Flatbush. And she used to go to this museum, right?
Yes. I hear these stories all the time. My mother used to, on the weekends, be dropped off at the museum. She took her first art classes there. But, even just 2 days ago, I was meeting with New York City's Parks Commissioner, Commissioner Silver, and he had his first art classes at the Brooklyn Museum. So many artists I know had their first art classes at the Brooklyn Museum. And today, over 300,000 people have arts education classes at the Brooklyn Museum.
Other than your mother's interest in art, why were you drawn to the art world?
My parents, my father was a historian or a wannabe historian. My mother was or is an antique dealer. We grew up going to museums, going to historical sites. So I grew up in a family that really cared about visual culture and how it told us a lot about history and the lives and cultures of other people. And also, I grew up in an environment that we were told again and again that our actions and our inactions mattered in the world. And so being in a museum for me is an opportunity to connect cultures and histories and stories that we all need to learn about in order to understand who we are as a society, where we've come from, and where we're headed.
We know that public schools in many cases are under the gun when it comes to funds and art classes, and they're cutting art classes. How do you connect with the younger generation and try to turn them on to art?
I think about our public schools and the fact that they have all these great physical resources, perhaps like theater spaces, dance studios, music studios, but in recent decades, they've been locked up. And so could we, Mayor de Blasio, put artists into our schools and actually have them activating these spaces and working with our youth? I hope so. I hope there's greater opportunity for that.
Well, clearly you've got the enthusiasm and the drive, and you're excited about this job. We're pleased that you've gotten it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's great to meet you. Good luck.
Thank you very much. I'm thrilled to be here.